Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today, I want to talk about how you will not get closure and why you will not get closure from the narcissist, and how to impair the kingdom of darkness at this time. I was thinking earlier today about my experiences with the hovering narcissists in the past, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with this term, but a hovering narcissist is essentially a narcissist that comes back to see if you're going to be able to be or willing to be abused once more, if you're willing to let them back into your life. I remember when the narcissist tried to come back into my life, and at the time, this was once a love interest, and turned out to not be what I thought it was. I broke it off, and I was like marinated back into the love bombing stage, and I gave it another shot. I heard her out, and this was like 4 or 5 years ago, but the conversation was, it was a projection of guilt onto me, and there was no accountability. And at the time, I was just so confused. I didn't know what exactly was going on, because the narcissist, especially female narcissists, in my experience, they're really good at making everything seem like your fault, and as they have all the power, they also have all the victimhood and the entitlement, for which they blame you for having that. And I tried to get closure with this girl and in this conversation, and I got to a point to where I realized that it was just not possible, and I wasn't very mature at the time, and so my young male hormones were just going haywire, and I was really heartbroken. And I now understand that to be heartbroken as a man, you have to be pretty spiritually weak and spiritually poor in order to be heartbroken. Of course you can feel pain, of course you can feel heartache, but I don't think, as a man, a mature, sophisticated, competent, capable, generous man, I don't think he's the kind of man that is going to let heartbreak define who he is, unless he's still dealing with past trauma. In which case, I wouldn't consider him a man per se, because a man is something that is created, right? So the point of this story is that there is no capability on the narcissist's part to have a genuine, empathetic connection. It's all about their image, and they see people purely as objects. It's one of these things that is so hard to wrap your mind around as a person that's actually compassionate and empathetic, and not mature enough to know, and too naive to understand that there are actually people out there that do want to break your spirit. Now, I've had a lot of dreams recently that are about these spirits trying to, like these evil demonic spirits trying to break my spirit. And the dreams have been very intense. I haven't had dreams like this for about 2 or 3 years, where probably since the beginning of, right around when COVID started, about February, March of 2020. I haven't had dreams like this since then, and the dreams have been very I wouldn't say they're violent per se, but it's like I am in the spiritual world fighting these demonic spirits and these demonic entities, and I'm using the word of God to and the helmet of salvation to protect me at this time, and I'm impairing the kingdom of darkness, Satan's kingdom. But it's coming at a great cost. And the cost is strength. But the gain is also strength as well. So this is kind of like lifting weights too, right? This is kind of like you have to break down the muscle in order to rebuild it. I think it's kind of the same metaphoric idea with dealing with narcissism. You've broken and overtrained the muscles of empathy for so long that you haven't had a chance to rebuild those muscles and really give yourself some proper nutrition, because love is like oxygen. And if you don't have love, you're not going to be able to breathe. That's something that one of my dreams revealed to me was like, it was like a mythical representation of my past trauma, and just, it was like describing the situation and where I'm at now. And the situation was with all of the narcissists that I've dealt with in the past and what I had to go through. And I was at one point, I was at a preschool, and I realized that these narcissists, even though they were in adult bodies, they were in preschool emotionally, and they had no idea how to actually get out of the school. So I left the preschool. I came back to the preschool in the dream, and there was no one there. There was just nobody there, and I felt like I couldn't breathe in the dream, like there was no oxygen. And I realized, like, intuitively in the dream that there was no oxygen because there was no love with the narcissists. And that's why you're just never going to get closure with the narcissist either, is that there's no possibility and no probability in which your model of reality is going to match up with their models. And I think too often people that are empathetic and compassionate and truly caring individuals, they truly want to help, and God's people really want to give to the world and give that light and impair the darkness, right? Impair the kingdom of darkness. The thing with a narcissist, though, is that it's the devil that sends them. There's a funny quote in a lot of these like narcissistic forums and YouTube channels that when the devil can't get you, he sends a narcissist. And funny enough, I think that's very, very true, because the narcissist itself is a hot mess, and hell is a hot mess. And it's just that's going to be the way that these people operate. And I think my dreams were revealing to me a message that I can relay to this audience and anybody that has an ear to hear this message. And I just want to say that the narcissist knows that if they give you what you're looking for, that validation, that you're going to win in their eyes. Everything's a competition with the narcissist. It's not. They have a very competitive spirit, and while there is a place and time and place for healthy competition, it's not in a relationship where you're trying to solve an issue. And anybody that makes you want to be alone in the relationship compared to actually being alone, like when like when the relationship with the person makes you feel more alone than just being alone, that's when you know you're not in a healthy relationship or dynamic. And really, you'd be doing the world a favor by leaving that relationship. And so I want to talk a little bit more about the hovering narcissist here for a second as well, because again, the hovering narcissist is trying to suck you back into the drama of the relationship and the trauma bond in the relationship. And for anybody that's unfamiliar with the trauma bond, a trauma bond is essentially where you've gone through something very traumatic with the narcissist, and there's this sense of like loyalty to the abuser. And when you break that trauma bond, and it's going to take some time and it's going to take some kind of action to get you out of that place, you know that you're moving on, and the narcissist doesn't want you to move on. When the narcissist, it's so strange, is like the narcissist, it's very crazy. Like it's almost like the kingdom of darkness itself is like working in the matrix and into this like physical world, and not in the spiritual per se exactly, but like something happens where like when you're finally starting to move away and finding some personal empowerment, that's when the narcissist comes back. And this has happened several times throughout my life with the narcissists, where I'm starting to level up, whether it's spiritually, physically, emotionally, and they see that and they're like, oh, well, now I want that back. I want that toy back now. It's like, well, I'm not a toy, man. Like, I'm not a toy for you to play with whenever you want. And that bothers them. And there are two things that are going to happen when they hover, in my experience. Number one is they're going to start a smear campaign, which I will have a video about smear campaigns in the future. I haven't had one yet. Or they're just going to leave, and because they need that narcissistic supply. They need your life force in order for them to even just be alive, because they're spiritually dead. And so hovering is also a sign that you're just not going to get closure. They will mirror you almost exactly, or even take your words, or even take who you are and who you're trying to become. And of course it's not going to work, because you can't really wear a mirror, right? Like that's still a mask at the end of the day. But this is a technique of the narcissist that they may not even be aware of, really. And your job as a individual that is trying to free their spirit is to discern whether or not this person is really welcome back into your life. And to be honest with you, this audience, in my experience, it's far better to be alone and have some peace of mind than to be around people that you're scared to not let down, because you're acting from a place of fear at that point, which is the place that the narcissist wants you to act anyway. So don't act from a place of fear. Act from a place of empowerment and confidence. Remember that it's okay to trust yourself. It's okay to trust your eyes. It's okay to trust your ears and trust your body. It's okay to feel your emotions, but don't let them control your behaviors. So, with that being said, I hope this message was useful and informative in some way, and provided some spiritual guidance for everybody out there. May peace be with you. Till next time.